Hello everyone, this is Gene. I'm back with another video. So I just wanted to do a quick fun video on this image that I happened to come across on my timeline. So it's talking about how to simp safely and sanely. Remember, sane, safe, and consensual, right? So it says here, there's a lot of misinformation surrounding the concept of simping. Simply put, no pun intended, to simp is to show reverence for the divine femininity of women. Men just used to build statues to us or, build things like the Taj Mahal. Now we're down to, well, this. But anyway, here are some tips that will help you become a better simp to your e-goddess. Go forth and worship her. Okay, let's see what this person, whoever made this image, says. I saw online, apparently, this was done unironically. I don't know if that's true or not, but still, I found it an interesting thing to react to. So it says, money. Never simp beyond your means. A good rule of thumb is to donate 10% of your yearly net income to your e-goddess. So you're basically taking the idea of the tithe, right, which was originally for things like, more spiritual, religious things like, building the tabernacle, maintaining the temple, right, helping out fellow believers in need. So now we have gone from that, right? We have gone from that to, well, this, right? Donating your money to some woman who sexually objectifies herself online, right? To a cam girl, or whatever you want to call it now. Okay, but let's see what this says. So, for example, if you make $75,000 a year, $7,500 should go to her. But always make sure your basic needs, such as food, water, shelter, and the health of you and your family, are met first. Well, at least this person is saying look out for your own needs and self-interest first. But I think there's a better ways to save or spend that $7,500. Maybe put it away for a rainy day. Maybe invest it, right? I hear GameStop stocks are in the news recently, right? There are a lot of different things you can do. Maybe if you have children, put it away for your college tuition, pay down debt. There's a bunch of other things you could do with that money than donate it to an e-goddess, right? Who are typically referred to by other terms which are nowhere near as reverent, right, as a goddess. But anyway, now it says next one is empowerment. Okay. Praise your e-goddess and praise her often. So worship her. Remember that she rules you and you serve her. An e-goddess should exude confidence and power. Don't simp for women who degrade and objectify themselves, i.e. wearing a dog leash, saying words such as master or sir. So basically, don't simp for or worship the submissive if a woman is the submissive in a sexual sense. Isn't that kind of judgy, to be honest? Because there is a certain strength and trust in submissiveness, right? Both in the sexual and non-sexual sense, right? So I find this interesting that apparently the only, according to whoever made this image, right, the only type of woman you should simp for, right, is basically the dom, right, the dominatrix type. Because apparently there is some sort of weakness or degradation in being a submissive woman, in this case, in a sexual sense. Wonder how many female subs would actually agree with that assessment. Right, so it says here, women who submit to men not only do a disservice to themselves, but to women everywhere. Ah, more sexist judgment. I love it. I love it. Sexuality. You must never simp for a woman who has a boyfriend. All men must be equal under the e-goddess. Well, here's the thing. Equality does not exist in the way people like to believe it does. There's no such thing as absolute equality. People will never be exactly the same. Number two, you are talking about an e-goddess. So guess what? As somebody who is a practicing Christian, you're made well aware of the fact that humans, right, are beneath God, right? Or angelic beings, right? Angels, Jesus Christ, things like that, right? They are above us, right? Humans are below them, right? So you're made well aware of that. So when it comes to worshiping a god, right? God or gods or goddess, right, or whatever it is, right? Or angelic beings that are not quite God but are sort of the vision or the image of God, like say the angels, right? They are not God, but they are uh, of a godly source, right? There is no equality here, right? Equality does not exist in such a relationship, right? There's a hierarchy, right? There is above and there is below, right? For example, the headship principle in Christianity, right? It's God, Jesus, the husband, the wife, the kids, right? So there's no such thing as equality in life itself, in my personal experience, right? There's relative equality, like for example, two people having a similar skill set and going for the same job. But if we're talking about equality in this sense, right, the hierarchy sense, doesn't exist. But so it's saying here, right, that you must never simp for a woman who has a boyfriend, right? This is not possible if she has elevated one man over her simps. Well, here's the thing: if she has a boyfriend, he's not even with the group of simps. It's not like he's the head simp. He's not in that group, which is probably why he's her boyfriend, because he's not simping for her, right? You may simp for a woman who has a girlfriend. Ah, I see. Such veneration of femininity should be encouraged, for lesbianism is the most sacred bond between two women. Ah, so it's okay to simp for her, right? And to apply this element of divinity and the divine if the relationship she is in, if the romantic sexual relationship she's in is a sapphic one. If she's heterosexual, or let's say she's bi or pan or whatever, and she happens to be involved with a man, right? Then that's bad, right? Then that's bad, and you must not worship her. But if it's queer, then all of a sudden, it's okay, right? It's a veneration, right? It's worship of femininity, because according to this, lesbianism is the most sacred bond between two women. Okay then. Okay then. To each their own. I would prefer bond with me and a man personally, but to each their own. But I just do find it very interesting that okay, so you're going to basically discriminate on sexuality, right? But because the sexuality being sort of uh, rejected in a way is heterosexuality, it's okay, right? And now we have spirituality. Okay, another ality. Consider adopting a goddess-centric religion. Monotheistic goddess worship was the original religion of humankind. Sadly, and sadly has been pushed to the fringe over the millennia. Embrace goddess in your heart and in everything you do, including your speech. For example, say, "Oh my goddess," instead of "Oh my God," and politely remind your e-goddess to do so too. Well, it sounds like here that you want us to all become the Asari from Mass Effect. And to be honest, if the goddess you're talking about is, say, Samara from the same game, or perhaps Storm of the X-Men, I could almost agree with you. But here's the thing. With the Asari in particular, they worship the goddess because there are no men in, in their society. Males do not exist uh, in the Asari uh, race or world, right? And even then, right, if you're familiar with Mass Effect, you know that the Asari eventually, went forth and started having relationships with other races and other alien races and the human race and all that. Where guess what? They have men. Where they have where where there are males and females. They're the only race in the game, right, to be um, single sex, as it were. Hence why they have a goddess and worship a goddess because they have no concept of the male. Okay? Okay. Now the next one is security. Defend your e-goddess from all manner of MGTOWs and incels who seek to upset her. These misogynists are unable or unwilling to see the beauty of divine femininity. Perhaps women in power scare them. Thankfully, most reputable social media sites have strict policies to help curb harassment and hate speech. Work together as a community to deplatform the trolls. First of all, if she is indeed a goddess, isn't she able to speak up for herself and defend herself against, as you call it, misogynists and trolls and MGTOWs and incels who seek to upset her? Doesn't it make sense that if she's this woman of power, right, that you've elevated to a place of divinity, that she's able to at least speak up for herself, right? So that I find interesting. And then it talks about MGTOWs and incels. Incel is just an insult, right? And it's just another, in my opinion, infantile, juvenile way of, trying to insult men, which is always funny when someone calls a guy an incel, and the man's like married or he has a girlfriend or he has kids or something. It's like, well, obviously he's not, he doesn't have trouble finding a girl, right? But anyway, MGTOWs. I've had my fair share of MGTOWs on the internet a few years ago. The thing is that while I do not approve of or agree with their sexism, I do understand where it comes from. And it comes from a place of very real fear, right? The fear of a woman using the power that society grants her, in particular in the courts, to ruin a man's life. For example, in family court, right? During a divorce or, fighting over who gets the kids, right? It's a well known fact that the family courts tend to favor the woman over the man, even in instances where it shouldn't. So I certainly understand their concerns. Problem is that their fear, as it says in Star Wars, right? Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hatred, and all that stuff. Their fear has led them to become sexist, at least in my experience, right? And tell themselves that, oh, all women are like this because of, you know, uh, genetic imperative, or, basically, right? Like we're programmed by nature. Seems to be their argument that women are programmed by nature to ruin men. And when you say, "Hey, I've never ruined a man's life," then they don't know how to answer you except to say that, "But you will someday," right? Because it acknowledging that they are dealing with low quality women would force them to have to admit that they themselves are low quality men, and they can't do that. At least the ones I've encountered. So they decide to lash out at the uh, whole female gender instead of realizing, looking inward and going, hey, maybe I'm choosing the wrong type of woman. But there are people who just say, look, you know what? I want to focus more on myself, build myself up. I don't want to get into a serious relationship with a woman because I'm concerned about, if we break up, she might take all my money if we get married or if we have kids. And look, I completely understand that. I actually share a lot of the same concerns on the other side of it because I'm a woman. But I can certainly understand that. And for those guys, hey, again, I get it. Do what you got to do. But there is no need to be as sexist about it. Again, very real concerns. I just disagree with the sexism element of MGTOW, at least with the MGTOWs I've encountered. But I'm not trying to say every MGTOW is like that. I'm just saying that the ones I've encountered have been very sexist. But still, I can understand the very real fear of losing everything that you built up to a woman who uses the system against you. So I understand where they are coming from, even if I don't necessarily agree with their ultimate, let's say, findings or destination as it comes to female behavior, right? And let's see here. If you're a e-goddess, you're probably not in a position of power, right? Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be an e-goddess. Another term would be an e-thought. You probably wouldn't be on the internet objectifying yourself if you were actually in a position of power, right? And that's what you want to do, then that's your choice. I'm not going to stop you, if you have an OnlyFans, but in my opinion, if you want people to respect you, it's probably best to not objectify yourself, especially in a sexual manner, because while you'll certainly make a splash and statement, there'll come a time when you want to be recognized for your mind and not for your face or your body or anything. And people are going to have a hard time taking you seriously if you build your brand or you build your name on your pretty face or your sex appeal, which is what being an e-thought or an e-goddess typically is about, right? And then it says that most reputable social media sites have strict policies to curb harassment and hate speech. Where? Where? Because it's not curbed. It's that they enforce the rules in a very uneven way and show favoritism toward certain groups and disfavoritism to others, right? Work together as a community to deplatform the trolls. But that also mean people who are critical of e-thoughts and e-goddesses and whatever else you want to call them. Would that include people like me? Just wondering. Am I a troll for pointing out the error in this type of behavior and how it's not really going to help in the end? But anyway, moving on to the last part. Says politics, right? Abolish the electoral college. I love how everyone says that when they basically don't get the result that they want. Then it's time to get rid of the electoral college, right? Seriously, it's an outdated system that gives disproportionate power to the rural areas of the country, which tend to be conservative and therefore less likely to elect female candidates. Again, with the assumptions about people and where they come from and what their politics are. Have you ever actually spoken to a conservative? And hell, wasn't it the Conservative Party that pretty much championed what's her face, Amy Barrett Cohen into the Supreme Court? I remember a huge groundswell of support for her, right, when she got nominated. Now, of course, the same party has now, or at least same people that I've seen online have turned against her because she didn't vote or see things the way certain people wanted her to during the whole, Trump and the voter election thing and whatnot. But a large conservative base did support her and helped push her and champion her to the Supreme Court. So what's that again about conservatives and being less likely to elect female candidates? Right? Though great strides have been made, women are still underrepresented in government. I am not quite sure how true this statement is, but let's say for a moment it is true. Okay, have you ever thought to examine why there aren't so many women in government? Why they are, in your opinion, underrated or underrepresented in government? Right? Ever ask yourself that? Why there aren't more women? Instead of just making a statement, ever think about why this exists, if it exists at all? Right, it says promote female leadership by voting for progressive female candidates. Well, Chicago has this mayor named Lori Lightfoot, black female lesbian. Yet somehow, Chicago is in no better shape than it was under its previous mayor. I wonder why. Maybe because leadership is not dependent on gender or race or sexuality, and is more dependent on one's morals and character and ability to lead and ability to address real problems. Maybe it's that. Maybe we should stop with this idea of vote for a woman or elect a woman, in this case, a Democrat woman, right? Progressive, let's be honest, they mean a Democrat, because she's a woman. Isn't that literally what Hillary Clinton ran on in 2016? I'm with her. vote for me because I am female, that's not a valid reason to vote for anybody. If you're going to vote at all, a person's gender, their ethnicity, their sexual orientation, especially if it is not heterosexual, are by no means valid reasons to vote for anyone if you're going to vote at all. And in my opinion, the fact that politicians try to market themselves to their potential voter base on these lines. I'm a woman. I'm a person of color. I'm a non heterosexual sexuality. Vote for me. To me, is absolutely disgusting because those things do not matter. Then again, as I've said in other videos, I disdain pandering. So that's me. And then it says here at the bottom, disclaimer, simping should only be practiced among consenting adults. Do not simp if you have an intellectual/developmental disability. Okay, I agree with you there, though I don't think that a person should simp at all. I think that if you're going to spend your money on a person, especially a romantic or sexual partner, they should be worth that money. If you're going to invest that much money, you should also be willing to invest, time, energy, emotion into that relationship as well to make the money spent, right, worthwhile, right? So again, put that money aside for a rainy day. Find somebody who's not shaking their ass online or whatever, or shaking their boobs or whatever it is, who is worthy of your money, of your time, of your investment, right? Emotional, physical, sexual, and everything else, right? Put it away and wait for the person who is worth it to come along instead of spending your money on someone who doesn't know you and who doesn't really actually care about you, who only cares about the money. There have been plenty of uh, e-goddesses or e-thoughts or whatnot, who will get on their feed or their stream or whatever it is and start yelling at men, you know, who is it, Pokimane or one of those, right? Talk about like if you have the time to sit and watch me, then you have the money to donate $10 or whatever it is. It's your money. Don't allow some random stranger who who is only interested in you for your money and who you're only interested in because they're hot tell you what to do with your money. Again, be smart about it and save it for someone better, right? It's kind of like the song Faith by George Michael, right? But I'm waiting for something more because I gotta have faith, right? It's kind of like that. And the funny thing is that, as you probably know if you've been on this channel anytime, I tend to think in songs because old lady likes music older than she is. So I was reading through all this initially, and I'm like, I think that like whoever wrote this, especially if they are being sincere, was listening to garbage, was probably listening to like Super Vixen or Queer, right? And then probably the song switched over to House of the Rising Sun by the Animals, and the person didn't realize it. So they may have started out with this, especially with the empowerment part, right? That's totally Super Vixen, right? But the rest of it, I'm like, oh dear God, this is totally House of the Rising Sun, right? This is totally, I am addicted to this vice which is ruining my life. So please, yeah, don't do this. Don't don't do this. It ain't worth it. She ain't worth it, right? Find somebody who is indeed worth it, whether you're male or female, because you don't have to be a man to simp, right? There are lesbians, bis, straight women, right? All types of people out there who will engage in this type of uh, behavior, and in the end, it's not really helpful, right? So yeah, please don't do this. And if you are doing this, please get some help. Because there's really better things you could be doing with your time and with your money than spending it on, well, in e-goddess. But anyway, that's the video. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day or night wherever you are.